The numbers were a warning. In a single year, anti-Semitic actions in France jumped from 9 to 116. Anti-Semitic threats rose from 60 to 603. Those are the clean numbers, the kind that fit neatly into a government report, safely arranged in rows and columns so nobody has to smell the smoke. The details were less tidy. Synagogues were set on fire. Others were attacked with firebombs. A Jewish nursery school in Paris burned. An explosion struck a Jewish school in Sarcelles. The Gan Pardes school in Marseille was torched, its main building covered with "Death to the Jews" and declarations of support for Osama bin Laden. Investigators reportedly found nails buried in the school playground, placed there to injure Jewish children. Over the following 13 months, hundreds of anti-Jewish assaults were reported. Synagogues, schools, fire, explosives, nails hidden where Jewish children played. Then came the explanations: an isolated incident, an insignificant provocation, a regrettable act by a disturbed individual. Anything except a pattern, anything except an admission that Jews were being attacked as Jews while the people attacking them wrapped themselves in the Palestinian cause. The institutions responsible for recognizing danger studied each burning synagogue as though it had no relationship to the last one. Each assault was placed in its own little box. Each threat was treated as a separate misunderstanding. Nothing connected, nothing organized, nothing to worry about. The Jews were worried, of course, but Jewish concern is rarely considered evidence until someone is dead. Before that, it is called panic, paranoia, overreaction, political manipulation, or an attempt to silence debate. You know this pattern because you have seen its modern version. Jewish businesses vandalized in the name of Palestine. Jewish students surrounded, synagogues targeted by mobs that insist their anger is directed only at Israel. You have heard Zionist used with the same tone, rhythm, and intention that previous generations used when they simply said Jew. You have watched authorities examine each incident individually while refusing to look at the picture created when all the incidents are placed together. There is only one problem with everything I have just described. Those numbers were from the year 2000, 26 years ago. The surge followed the outbreak of the Second Intifada, also known as the Al-Aqsa Intifada, in late September 2000. Violence in Israel was quickly converted into permission to target Jews in France, before October 7th, before TikTok, before university encampments, before mobs learned to replace the word Jew with Zionist and insist the meaning had changed. The pattern was already established. A conflict involving Israel erupts. Israel is transformed from a country into a symbol of absolute evil. Jews everywhere are ordered to answer for it. Jewish schools, synagogues, businesses, neighborhoods, and individuals become acceptable targets. During the Second Intifada, Palestinian terrorists bombed Israeli buses, restaurants, hotels, and other civilian gathering places. French Jews who had no control over Israeli decisions and no role in the conflict were made to pay the bill. The Palestinian cause became the alibi, and the people responsible for recognizing danger continued calling the incidents isolated. That is why the response after October 7th felt less like the appearance of something new than the return of something familiar. In Britain, the Community Security Trust recorded an immediate and dramatic rise in anti-Jewish incidents following the Hamas massacre, before Israel had begun any extensive ground operation in Gaza. That timing matters. The hatred did not begin after months of war. It erupted while Jewish bodies were still being identified and Jewish families were still waiting to learn whether their relatives had been murdered or dragged into Gaza. The atrocity against Jews did not produce a pause, it produced excitement. Then the machinery expanded. The J7 is a coalition of major Jewish organizations representing the 7 largest Jewish communities outside Israel: the United States, Canada, Britain, France, Germany, Australia, and Argentina. Its 2025 report documented more than 23,000 anti-Semitic incidents across those 7 countries, which together contain more than 90% of diaspora Jewry. Compared with 2022, total incidents were up 136%. Violent incidents were up 97%. 20 people were murdered in anti-Semitic attacks during 2025, making it the deadliest year for anti-Semitic violence in the Jewish diaspora since the 1994 bombing of the AMIA Jewish Center in Argentina. In the United States, the ADL recorded 6,274 incidents of anti-Semitic assault, harassment, and vandalism in 2025. That is an average of 17 incidents every day and the third highest annual total since the organization began tracking them in 1979. Britain recorded 3,700 incidents, its second highest annual total. Its monthly average was exactly twice what it had been during the year before October 7th. More than half of those British incidents included references to Israel, Palestine, Hamas, or the war, alongside clear anti-Jewish language, motivation, or targeting. Different countries, different governments, different political cultures, the same result. Zionist has become a category broad enough to include a Jewish student, a kosher restaurant, a synagogue, a preschool, a Holocaust memorial, or anyone wearing a Star of David. The word provides the excuse, but the target reveals the truth. After every escalation, the public is told to examine each broken window separately. The slogans are treated as unrelated to the vandalism, and the vandalism as unrelated to the violence. Everyone keeps studying the broken windows until somebody finally succeeds in burning down the building. What is old is new again, except now the distribution is global and instantaneous. The hatred that once required newspapers, political parties, pulpits, and organized movements can now circle the planet before the police have finished taking a statement. A slogan appears in one city and is repeated in another by people who insist no one coordinated anything. A lie is uploaded in London, translated in Paris, amplified in Toronto, and shouted outside a synagogue in New York before dinner. 26 years ago, France had the numbers. It had the burned synagogues, the attacked schools, the threats, the graffiti, and the excuses. It had everything required to recognize the pattern. Today, we have the same pattern at a scale that reaches across continents. We do not need another commission to discover it decades from now. We do not need another report written after the damage is done, explaining how the warning signs were visible but somehow overlooked. The signs were not overlooked, they were minimized. The numbers are larger now, the map is wider, the excuses are thinner, and nobody gets to say we have never seen this before. If you enjoy my writing, support me by buying my book, Screaming into the Void, available on paperback or Kindle on Amazon.com.